Bret Kelly.
Yes, sir.
My man. I appreciate you stopping by, dude. So, like I said when you walked through the door, I didn't really bring you here to talk about the weather. But what in the world, dude?
Snow in April.
Snowing? I woke up this morning and it was cold. But I was like, oh, hopefully it'll warm up because I feel like the last few days it's been kind of chilly in the morning and then kind of warms up in the afternoon. No, bro, this snow, what in the fuck is going on? It's crazy. It's crazy. You're from here in St. Louis, right?
Yeah. Born and raised out in like Baldwin area, and then moved away. What was that? Like almost 15 years ago. Came back a couple years ago.
Okay, so you were gone for 15 years.
Yeah, like on and off, just in the strength conditioning industry. It's kind of a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah. So you were the I want to say strength coach because I was just listening to your podcast and you said you were the fuck, what was the title you gave?
Dude, I've had so many titles.
It wasn't strength coach though, for the U.S. ski team. It wasn't.
I think we changed our title during it. I think it was
Okay.
performance coach.
Coach or something. I was trying to get it right.
I don't even know, man.
But either way,
It's all the same thing.
Yeah. You're helping people perform.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
at
that
the end
what
of
you
the
would
day,
describe
they were trying to change the name just because of like, when you're on the road with teams, like you're not just doing strength and conditioning stuff. You're doing anything that you can to help that team win, right? So that we changed it to performance coach.
Yeah, you're just like, this is just more appropriate. Yeah. So let's take me down like your path a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, were you an athlete growing up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I grew up playing just football, wrestling. That kind of came just from football too. And then started getting into rugby in college, and then played for the Ramblers here in St. Louis for, I guess it was like 4 years. And then, that was majority of my career. So because of that, I got into strength conditioning in high school. Well, I think actually probably like sixth grade, but got after it in high school because of football.
Yeah.
And that really led to kind of what I'm doing now.
Just that natural progression of like doing the thing, falling in love with just like the process, and then just turning that into your path.
Yeah. I was the kid that literally after school, every single day in the off season, I would be in the weight room. And because I think that was one of the first things where I got to actually go in and then see that like putting in the work, got me better at something, right? I think, obviously in school you can see it like with tests and everything, but that never really resonated with me as much as like, oh, I can sit here and, work out for however many weeks and then I can actually see this number going up. So I kind of got like, as a younger kid, like addicted to that. Like, how can I, improve my body, jump higher, push the weight more, that kind of stuff. And I was lucky enough to have good coaches and get involved in that early and get taught how to do that stuff properly. So I think for me, that was something that's, still resonates within, and that's really why I'm always in the weight room anyway.
Yeah, I totally get that. I definitely understand like that whole path of just before you ever start lifting, and it's just kind of like just this idea of like people are good at sports or people are good at things. And then you start lifting and you start seeing progress and you're like, oh shit, like there's actually something that you can do about it. And then you start getting addicted to those results.
Yeah, it was also like, I don't know, it was crazy to me to see the kids that were like naturally good when we were like freshmen in high school that like didn't do any work.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
I mean, there's a lot of kids that aren't going to do work anyway, but it just never made sense to me. I'm like, you're already good at this. Like I had to work to get to the point that you're at. If you would put in the work too, you're going to be so much better than me. So by the time I was a junior and senior, like I was all-state football player, and I really think like I didn't have the build for a position. I was a defensive end. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. I played offensive line. Like that's not a big offensive lineman by any means. But I mean, I was all-state, I think, just because I spent time in the weight room, right?
Yeah.
And so, I kind of had to do that to get to the point that I wanted, where I wanted to be.
Yeah. I laugh at that just because I also played D-line.
Yeah.
Like I was dude, I played every offensive line position. I started as a guard and then they moved me to center and they tried me at tackle, but I was mostly a center. And then I was a linebacker, but then they tried me at D end. I preferred linebacker, but it was just like I'm way too small for these positions. Like, what are you seeing, coaches, that I'm not seeing? I get it if you're like a little bit bigger than everybody else, but when you start looking at high level athletes,
oh no,
why are you even putting me in this position? If for me, at least at that time, my goal was to try to go to the next level. Was that your goal as well?
Yeah, I think for a little bit. When I was a senior, I don't know, I kind of got away from that. I wasn't getting like any looks at like big colleges, and I think that kind of like I know, weighed on me because I wanted to play like a bigger college. So I decided not to play. And that's how I got into rugby. Because after like a couple years of college, like I missed playing football, and I was a lineman. I can't catch shit, which is why I was a lineman.
You don't have the hands, bro?
No. So I wanted to get into something, and I had somebody that played rugby, so that's how I got into that, because I just missed hitting people, and just that competitive atmosphere or whatever. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you wrestled and you played football.
Yep,
Damn.
those are the main ones.
That's what's up.
I threw discus, but that was mainly just because our D-line coach was the discus coach, so we all just lifted weights.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you were in season basically all year.
Yeah.
And when did you find time to lift?
I mean, all the time. I don't know. Like, and when I was in,
you're just into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember in wrestling, like my freshman year, because I started wrestling, I think it was like 6th grade. I just remember I wanted to get better at football. We had a football coach that was like, "Hey, wrestling can help with like the handwork." I mean, from jiu-jitsu, like from the handwork, it can help kind of with shedding blocks, that kind of stuff. So I was like, "Oh, I'm in." So I started doing it in 6th grade, and I was pretty good at it. And then when I was, I guess what was that, my freshman year, I started doing stuff with the actual wrestling team, and then I was pretty good. I had like I think set the record for most pins, like fastest pin, that kind of stuff. But they didn't do any weightlifting or anything like that first year. And I remember telling my coaches, I'm like, I want to get bigger for football. That was my goal at that point, right?
Yeah.
I want to get stronger and bigger for football. And they're like, "Oh yeah, come on back next year. Like, you can go ahead and get some of your strength work in." So they allowed me to do some strength work before practice and come in and like lift as well, because I think they saw that potential in me.
Yeah. That's what's up.
So
yeah, it's just interesting to hear because, again, as I'm like listening to your story, like I wrestled and played football. I started wrestling because it was, again, to get better for football. But then as I started wrestling, like that just kind of became my sport. Like I loved that more. I always thought I was going to go to college and play football. Like that was the goal, but I was just better at wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to kind of like hear. But you never like wavered from that. Like football was still the thing until you're just like, oh, like you're not getting the looks that you're wanting.
Yeah, I mean, I had some injuries too, some like shoulder injuries, and it was kind of like my doctor was like, "Hey, if you're gonna want to play at the next level, you're gonna need surgery." It was like I tore my labrum my senior year. I kept on dislocating my shoulder, kind of thing, where it was just unstable. So I was on the, I was like, "Oh, I can go play at Division III school and get shoulder surgery, or I can just, go get stronger and go to Mizzou," which is what I ended up doing.
Okay, so did you ever get surgery on your shoulder?
No, actually, I didn't. I did. They like had it scheduled and everything, and then I ended up like canceling it just because I decided not to play in college. I wanted to see kind of how it would feel, because day to day it was fine. It was more or less like when I got in weird positions. It happened in basketball a lot when I was like reaching up and somebody would come down on it or something, and then obviously hitting people in football. But I started doing just a ton of overhead work. I was into like weightlifting, like Olympic lifting, when I was in high school. So I had already done like overhead squats, snatches, all those variations. So I started doing a lot of that, just like very light, and using that as like my warm up on a daily basis, and doing more like waiter carries and that kind of stuff. And really within, I guess it'd be like my sophomore year of college, I was snatching my body weight overhead. So obviously it was stable at that point, and I really haven't, like I've continued doing overhead work all the time, and I really haven't had any issues with it. Nice. And I played rugby for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. So
didn't have any issues with it, no. So it's one of those where like, you go see a doctor, and what they do, right, is they cut on people. So that's their main solution, and that's probably the only solution they see, versus like thinking outside the box, and we can actually get this joint stronger and maybe, work it that way as well, which is actually tore my labrum in my hip too.
Oh, shit.
And kind of had a similar experience as well.
How did you do that?
So when I was a young strength coach, I think, if you look down the path of strength conditioning, and like the people, sometimes people get stuck in like a specific groove where it's like, this is one way of training, right? And I remember, I guess, kind of following some people that were like, "Hey, you have to squat with your feet pointed straight." And for me, like that, I feel like knock-kneed when my feet are straight. Like my hips, thinking back now, my hips definitely rotate out a little bit. So I like to kind of have my feet out a little bit, just a little stronger. And I was really trying to focus on keeping those feet straight, thinking it was like more a mobility issue than it was like an actual like structural issue with my hips.
Yeah.
And I remember like first time like starting to go heavy on there, it was like tight, and then all of a sudden I had like a real stabbing pain in my hip. Went to the doctor. They're like, "Hey, you have femoral acetabular impingement," so basically like extra bone growth on my hip joint. And I had it on the actual femur, and then the actual like socket as well. So they're saying it was on anterior side. So when I rotate my hip forward into that straight foot position, it was closer and it could actually pinch. So that actually pinched my labrum and tore it.
Wow.
And then they were like, all right, yeah, we're going to do surgery, repair your labrum, shave down, acetabular. Same thing. I had surgery scheduled, and then I got a job with the White Sox, and I was like, I'm leaving. Sorry, I'll figure it out later. So I went there and, just worked with some of the ATs I worked with and rehabbed it. And it still bothers me from time to time, but like on a daily basis, it doesn't. So I'm not going to get surgery on it,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the body it has this amazing ability to really heal itself.
Oh, yeah.
When you do the right things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, doctor. Depending on the doctor you go to, yeah, it's like everything's a hammer, or they have a hammer and everything's a nail, right? It's just they cut. But if you take the time and you kind of learn how your body works, you can fix some shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell my athletes that all the time when they're coming in and they have different aches and pains. It's like, instead of just shutting stuff down or getting surgery, let's try to find pain-free movements and then build up strength around that, right? So, like, for instance, if my knees bother me, let's say I just have, like, patella tendonitis or something. All right, well, let's stay away from the movements that hurt it, but let's still bend your knee. Or let's regress and do some, like, eccentrics or, like, isometric stuff so we can still build up that stability. And, I have so many kids come in with that anterior knee pain just because they're growing. And I would say 90% of them, if I just have them do, like, iso split squats for warm-ups on, like, a daily basis, that tends to go away pretty quickly. Yeah.
How many kids or how many people are you seeing that will come through your office and they'll have an issue because they were given like bad instructions from like a coach? Say for example, like you were told like your future's supposed to go forward. There's so many coaches out there that are teaching movement and strength that don't really have a complete understanding, or maybe like they don't have like maybe the broad idea that everybody's different and there's not one way for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest issue I see with kids coming in is like just the amount of volume of stuff that they're like told to do, right? Like I work with Total Package Hockey is a hockey academy, right? So they actually go to school next door to our facility and they train with us and they're on ice, which is like it's a great program. Most of them play on another team as well, and some might play on a soccer team or like a lacrosse team, and then they have a strength coach, and then they see me 4 days a week. Yeah. So like I'm trying to play like triage at that point and figure out what they need versus like just hammering them. And I have kids come in sometimes. They're like, I'm sore from my personal trainer last night in soccer. And I'm like, why are you seeing a personal trainer in soccer? Like you're working out with me 4 days a week. You're in here on ice 8 days a week. Like you're 12. So that's kind of more or less the issues I see is I don't know if it's necessarily the kids or the parents. I kind of see it with both maybe, where people are just like more is better. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And we know it's obviously not always better. So
simplicity is usually key.
Yeah, for sure. And then as far as like specifics on mechanics and stuff, I would say, I mean, it's definitely gotten better since like, we were in high school where I'm sure it was the same for you. Like my football coach is my strength coach. Yeah. And I got lucky that like they knew what they were doing with like he was an Olympic weightlifter. So he broke down a lot of that stuff for me. But my reps were 3x10 forever. Yeah. So like I progressed because I was going through puberty and I'm going to get stronger no matter what. But there was definitely better ways to do that. Right. Yeah. So I think that's changed a lot. A lot of high schools I reached out to now and coaches have strength coaches that are like specifically from strength conditioning. So I went to Parkway South, and then they just got a strength coach from the lab. He's great. He works with the guys there, and I've had some people from South that come in and work with us, and they're great movers already. So it's definitely getting better.
The field has grown so much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's so many more people actually like taking the time and like dedicating themselves to like the science and understanding like what makes a better athlete. Yeah, it's definitely a whole new world than when we were growing up.
Oh, absolutely.
When did you graduate?
06.
Oh, yeah, same. So you're the same age as me. Nice. Yeah. So that time, like, it was way different than it is now. I mean, there's so many more guys like you who work with all levels of athletes, whereas before, I think guys with your knowledge were only working with at the highest level of athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know about this when I was like in high school. I was, I just liked strength conditioning. Yeah. And when I went to school, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm undecided. I like science, so I'll go into science. And I started taking like exercise science classes because I liked it. Yeah. And then I was thinking, all right, maybe physical therapy because that made sense with, again, what I liked. And then I shadowed some PTs and retrospectively, it might have been the wrong PTs to shadow because it was like people that are working with like knee reconstruction and like older clients, and I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
And then I shadowed some strength coaches, and I didn't even know that was a thing at the time, and it kind of light bulb went off, and so I started writing some programs for people, and it kind of went from there.
Okay, so then that just was the rest is history at that point.
Yeah.
So you stopped doing rugby, and you're just full on studying, going down the path, or was this all happening at the same time?
It was all happening at the same time. So that was kind of at Mizzou. That was really like my senior year where I was trying to decide if I was going to go to PT school or what. So from there, I ended up going to Logan University. They had a new master's program where it was my undergrad's exercise science. Master's was sports science and rehabilitation.
Okay.
So I did that, and while I was doing that, I interned at Lindenwood, and then worked just as a personal trainer and trying to get as much experience as I can. First team I worked with was Lindenwood's bowling team.
They got a sick bowling team.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they were just like, hey, there's an intern here. You can have bowling.
That's funny.
Don't hurt them.
Don't hurt them. That's so funny. I went to Lindenwood.
Okay.
And I knew a kid who was on the bowling team. He told me how good they were. He's like, yeah, I'm here on scholarship. I'm like, what? I'm like, they have scholarships for bowling here? He's like, yeah, they're like national champs. They're really fucking good.
Yeah, they have a lot of national champ teams. Like when I was at Lindenwood, and I know it's gotten bigger, there was, I think, 52 teams when I was there.
Yeah.
Basically, like, if you go there, most people are in a sport.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially when they're all NAIA. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just now transitioning to D1.
Yeah, next year everybody's going to be D1. So there's been a lot of kids that lost scholarships because of that right now because they're in that transition period.
Yeah. They're going to lose a lot of athletes because of that. Because when they're NAIA, they were just giving out money like it was nothing. I mean, I think it was all grants is how they would do it. They say it was an athletic scholarship, but it was really just a grant. So if you did your sport or not, people are still getting money. It's not like that anymore. The clearinghouse is a different beast.
Yeah.
So you said I'm jumping back a little bit. You said you started working with the Sox. Was that your first professional team that you worked with?
No, first one was I did an internship, like I said, with Lindenwood.
Mm-hmm.
Once I graduated with my master's, I was working in cardiac rehab, and that was really just a job during my master's. And I remember graduating and being like, "This is not what I want to do," but it was a full-time job. So I reached back out to try to find some internships just to get more experience. Got an internship with the U.S. Ski team. Got lucky enough to get hired on out there. And then my mentor when I was out there, he was a strength coach in minor league baseball and then Major League Baseball and pro hockey. So he kind of geared me towards the baseball route just because there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of turnover in the minor leagues because the pay is not great, the hours suck, but the experience is great. So I kind of reached out to some people that had some openings, and one of them was with the Cardinals. So, I mean, I was lucky that I got to work for the Cardinals hometown team, which was really cool, obviously. Try not to fanboy out my first time at spring training there, meeting Wayno and everybody. So
yeah, that must have been an experience, dude.
Yeah, I was just I didn't even tell people I was from St. Louis. I was just like shaking hands, trying to act normal. But no, I went there, and that was my first paid strength and conditioning job, was minor leagues with the Cardinals. I worked rookie ball. Which is, if you don't know, it's like, when you get drafted or you come up from the Dominican, that's usually your first team. It's rookie ball.
Okay.
So that was really cool. Half my team didn't speak English. I didn't speak Spanish. And we won a championship. So
that must have been
kind
a
of
wild
crazy.
Ass ride, right?
Yeah.
Where were they based at?
They were in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Okay.
Which is a really cool town. But they actually, baseball changed a bunch the last couple of years and cut a bunch of the minor league teams. So they're not with the Cardinals anymore, I don't think.
Really?
I think the lowest is Peoria with them, I want to say. But I don't even know.
That's a complicated system if you're not familiar with baseball,
my God.
dude. Like you start hearing about AA, AAA, single A, and how you have to go through all these different ranks, and you think that an athlete gets signed and they're just gonna. It's like, no, wait a second. They just got the opportunity to work their way through this system. Now it's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, and then a lot of it is the politics of how much you get signed for as well. Like, we had, so it's rookie ball, and then it's low A, high A, and then it's double A, triple A, and then majors, right?
Okay.
And then there's a Dominican league. Dominican has the academy. So the Cardinals have an academy down in the Dominican where there's probably 50 or 60 athletes down there as well.
Really?
So they'll get signed at 14, 15 down there. And then they'll get brought up if they're good enough out of the academy and get signed for, 200,000, something like that. We had a kid on our team who got signed for $2.6 million when he was 16.
Is that just because of the concentration of athletes that come from the Dominican that play baseball?
Yeah, everybody plays baseball in the Dominican. That's the number one thing, right? So, and they get told, right, if you have power, if you can throw hard, like you can get off the island, and that's literally what they do. So I think the biggest thing we see is, people will go down there and they'll just try to look for like raw talent. So they're looking for people that can throw hard and that have a lot of power. And then when they come up, then you have to kind of teach them how to play baseball, or teach them how to pitch, right?
Yeah.
So like, hey, let's get a changeup, let's get a slider. You have to be able to hit the curveball. You have to be able to lay off pitches, which is challenging a lot of times. So the kids that can't make that jump at that point, a lot of times get buried in that like high A, low A league, because like they can still hit, and the second they get up to like double A, where you have like the high prospects that can actually pitch, like they're screwed.
Really?
They kind of go back and forth until they can really adjust a little bit.
Yeah, they get exposed.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoa, I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Dude, baseball's cutthroat. Sports are cutthroat, really.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You have to perform.
Yeah. I mean, and then, people like Matt Carpenter, like his story is crazy if you, really know and think about minor league baseball, because he got signed as a senior at a college. And if you get signed as a senior, you're going to get like $1,000 maybe because you have nowhere else to go. So they're going to offer you money, right? But like what else are you going to do? You're a senior, like otherwise your career's over, or you can go play independent ball. So those guys will come in, and since they really didn't get paid, like they're not going to get much playing time, because they're going to try to give as much playing time to the prospects as possible. Like we gave this kid $2 million.
Yeah.
He might not be playing good right now, but he needs to get better.
Right. That's an investment.
Yeah, exactly. So basically those kids like Carpenter, there's tons of these kids, right, who sign as juniors or seniors, don't get a lot of money. Every time they get in, like they have to perform basically to even get like a chance. So, yeah.
So when's the ideal time to get signed? As young as possible?
Yeah, as young as possible. So, I mean, if you get signed out of high school, like early rounds, you're going to be getting a pretty good chunk of money, because they're trying to convince you to not go to college, right?
Okay.
And then same thing if you're young in college, they're convincing you to leave college. So
Right.
it's like you have to give you a financial incentive to do that.
Yeah. That has to be harder now because college players can get paid.
Yeah, that's something I haven't even thought about that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, because if you're getting paid in college and it's easier to perform there, why would you not ride it out for 4 years and keep getting paid?
Yeah, especially if you're at like a big school, like a lot of the southern schools, like baseball's huge down there.
Yeah, like
Vanderbilt's huge.
Yeah, okay. South Carolina, is that a big school for baseball, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, the baseball world is so interesting to me. So, Stu, as we were talking about, Stu, I know he works with some baseball players and stuff. So, baseball is one of those interesting sports in that it seems that the athletes have to really take care of their own strength and conditioning outside of season. Are you familiar with any other sports where you really have to take care of your own shit? I mean, I guess there are. When you're off season, you're off season. But I feel like at the professional level, when you're off season, there's usually things that you can do that like the sport will provide, as opposed to you having to go do it on your own.
Yeah, I think the hard thing with baseball was there's so many athletes in the organization. So you're looking at maybe 250 plus minor leaguers.
Yeah.
And trying to like keep track of all of them sometimes is difficult in the off season. So we would still give people programs.
Yeah.
And this was like when I was with the Sox, I think there was like a couple programs that started doing the online stuff. I use Train Heroic now, which would have been great back then. But they just weren't as good. So we kind of still did that, Excel sheets and some like videos and stuff, and you're checking in with guys, but you're not with them.
Yeah.
So first off, you don't know if they're actually doing it.
Right.
And then, my guys that were on my team that year, I was kind of in charge of them, so I just try to keep up with them in the off season. If they're training with somebody else, I just try to talk to their, whoever they're training with, make sure they're kind of aligned with what our goals are with this person. If they need to lose weight, get stronger here and here and here, and then really let them do their thing. So yeah, I mean, I know other sports as well, like the same thing. It's, if it's a pro sport, like those kids or athletes aren't going to be necessarily where that team is in the off season, right? So a lot of it is just like online, or they might go train with somebody else, and you're just trying to keep up with them.
Is that common in the space today, where you're pretty much remotely training people?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a lot of, or at least a few Olympic lifters, where they're always talking about like their coaches just sending them their programming and their coaches somewhere else in the country. Are you seeing that across the board in a lot of different sports? It sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, every pro sport has some capacity that obviously in season you're with them, but out of season everybody's going to wherever the hell they want to go, right?
Yeah. Now, are you only work with athletes, or you work with Gen Pop too?
We work with Gen Pop too. So I work at Mercy Sport Performance. We have majority is sport performance clients. So usually like high school, middle school kids. We have probably like I think 17 teams right now that come through there. A lot of hockey teams because it's inside the Blues practice arena. And then we have 2 right now. I think we're about to bump it up to 3 adult classes a day. So those are hour-long classes, but we still kind of treat them like sport performance, which is why I think some of the people that come in like that because they used to be athletes or something. So we're still doing skipping, jumping, rotational stuff. Trying to make them actually like move better as well. So we still have that same mindset when it comes to training them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you want to be athletic in your life.
You would hope.
I mean, you would hope, right? I mean, how many people get messed up just because they fall?
Dude, yeah.
Dude, you want to be able to, maybe you can roll through it or catch yourself or something. You got to be a little athletic to do that.
Well, yeah, there's, Achilles tendon injuries is like huge for guys our age. Think how many friends you had that, maybe were athletic and haven't done anything in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then they go out and try to pick up basketball and tear their Achilles.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
As I'm thinking, as you say that, the amount of pain that would cause. Oh my God, I'd probably throw up.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one or like a muscle tear where it rolls up?
Yes, I've seen them in biceps.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It just rolls up in here and it's, oh my God.
Is that from grappling usually?
I've seen it on some grappling. Yeah, because dude, you get so heavy pulling, pulling, and you don't do anything to even that out. Or, yeah, I mean, it's just so common, especially in grappling. I'm guilty of that too, where I was having some issues with my forearms because I was just grappling so much, just because I wasn't working my extensors enough, and I had like a wicked knot in my forearm. Like I finally worked out that soft tissue, and like I do a whole much more like extensor work, and all the pain went away in my elbow. But it's because you're just constantly just doing the same movement over and over and over. I
got into jiu-jitsu a little bit when I was in Utah. It was about a year. There's a good gym out there. I trained with Mike Diaz out there. He was awesome. And then when I came back here, like that was right when COVID hit, so it kind of like stopped. And I started doing a little bit at St. Charles because I live right by St. Charles MMA.
Okay, yeah.
And so I've been going out there a little bit. And you just go more often, but it's like, if I haven't gone at all and I start going, my forearms, man, the next day, like they're just toast.
Yeah, it's hard on the body, dude. It's super hard on the body. That's where I train in St. Charles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it'll fuck you up a little bit. My back hurts sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Just because I took the last month off of training, and I just got back into it probably this last week. And I was rolling really hard. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, my back's a little sore. Like, my hands hurt really bad from, like, gripping. I'm like, shit, dude. I got to do something to fix this. Like, my body's breaking down.
Yeah.
Just beating it up, dude.
I feel like I've popped, like, 3 ribs out.
Oh, really?
Like, doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't do jiu-jitsu sooner, being that you were a wrestler, but...
I didn't honestly know too much about it. Like, I mean, obviously I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know how similar it was to wrestling.
Yeah.
And I remember going in and... when I first started doing it, like that was the first thing they said. They're like, yeah, you can tell somebody wrestled just from like how to move on a mat.
Yeah.
But it's obviously totally different. Like, wrestling, like I never want to be on your back. Right. So that was like weird as shit for me to try to like be like, this is okay. I'm in a dominant position actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just did it for like a year or something. Yeah. I haven't done it in the last couple of months either. I'm paying to do it, but
you just gotta show up, bro.
Yeah, I'm just giving Mike some money.
So you've only been here for a couple years.
Yeah, back.
You're bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah. So after the Cardinals, that was just a seasonal position. So I worked in season. Off season, they were kind of like, all right, we'll hope to see you next year. But we're not giving you money, obviously. So I got a full-time job with St. Louis University, working with their baseball team, softball, swimming, diving, field hockey.
Oh, cool.
It was a part-time position where I was working 60 hours a week.
Your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much college strength and conditioning. And I remember being like, all right, I need to get some more college experience just because there's going to be a lot of job opportunities in college. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'll stay here for a couple of years or something. And then I literally talked to my old boss from the Cardinals about that. And she was like, yeah, that makes sense. You definitely stay there for a little bit. And she called me, I think I'd been there for like 4 months. And she called me and she's like, hey, there's a full-time position open with the White Sox. I gave him your name. And then my boss, when I was with the Sox, Dale, he called me like 30 minutes later, talked to me, and then offered me a position. He was like, yeah, Rachel talked you up. You don't seem like an idiot. Let's get you on board. So I went from being like, I'm going to stay here for 2 years to like 4 months later, I was like, all right, I'm going to work in Phoenix for White Sox now. So I went down there, worked for them for 3 seasons. And then, so I was down in Phoenix during spring training because that's their main facility for spring training and extended. And then I went out to Great Falls, Montana for the season, which was awesome.
Yeah,
a lot of fly fishing out there.
Dude, the scenery in Montana is holy shit.
We were like in Great Falls is like the plains, so Great Falls is kind of depressing.
Just flat, nothingness there.
But you drive like 20 minutes out and you're straight in the mountains.
Yeah.
And get some good fishing in. That's like where the Missouri River is. You can almost walk across it there. It's awesome.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I was there, and then I went to Kannapolis, which is like right outside of Charlotte. Okay. That was like the next couple years. So I was a strength coach for that team, which is minor league White Sox. And then I remember this whole time I was dating a girl back in St. Louis, so I'd be back here in the off seasons, there in the in season. And then I remember we were driving back, and she flew back out to help me drive back or whatever, and I got a call from the U.S. ski team. They told me there was an opening and they're interested in me applying. And she was like, I remember she was crying because she was like, I'm so happy for you. She's like, you're supposed to be coming back to St. Louis. What the hell? So I ended up getting an offer with the ski team just because I stayed connected with people out there, and they thought it'd be a good fit for it. And that girl I was talking about ended up moving out there, and then we ended up getting married. So that's my wife.
Oh, awesome.
So that worked out.
That's great. I was like, dang, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Well, you're like on the nomad life, dude. That's got to be a hard way to live.
Yeah. I mean, that was, especially even when I was with the ski team, I had a bunch of different teams, and obviously they're traveling all over, all year chasing the snow down in New Zealand, Australia, and Chile, and Europe, and glaciers, and just crazy places.
You go with them?
Like some of the camps, it really depended on what the camp was, but I got to go to some cool places with them. That's kind of what I'm saying, that nomad life, like followed me around through that. And so you kind of have to be able to just like go. And I was lucky enough to have, Brittany is amazing, and, we're very supportive. But then at some point it's like, I want to have a family and be able to like be in my child's life. And that's what kind of got us to thinking about moving back to St. Louis, get back closer to family and stuff. So we moved back a couple years ago. Yeah.
That's what's up, dude. St. Louis isn't the terrible spot.
No.
I thought for a while, like, I probably will end up being like a snowbird. It's kind of like our plan. We'll have like a place here and like a place somewhere else. But I thought for sure I was going to like leave in here and like going to like Austin for a little while or something. I really love that city. Mm-hmm. And as shit kind of gets crazier and crazier, I'm realizing like this place actually isn't that bad. It's like cost of living is pretty cool. There's a lot of I talk about it all the time, but the restaurant scene here in St. Louis is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I try to tell people that aren't from here, but obviously nobody wants to come to St. Louis because they just think it's like a dangerous place.
They do, yeah, or they think there's just nothing here.
Yeah,
one of the two. But it's like, no, it's actually a really cool place, and it's not that dangerous, believe it or not. Like, yeah, St. Louis City, it's just all statistics.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then we got the fucking soccer team coming, which is super cool. So there's just a lot of cool things happening here, and it's super affordable, and I really like it. Yeah. You go out into the woods. We have great conservation in Missouri.
Oh yeah, I mean that was something I feel like I didn't take advantage of until I moved out to Utah, because everybody I like hung out with out there, they all did stuff outside all the time. So every weekend we had something planned outside because obviously it's like, amazing there. And then moving back here, it's like I started looking into some of that stuff, and I was into fly fishing at that point. I'm like, there's tons of amazing fly fishing in Missouri or even like northern Arkansas, and tons of, like you said, like conservation areas where you can go down and just like hike or hunt or whatever you like to do. And it's like, how come we never did that before?
Right.
Very rarely did that. Like I might have gone camping if it was a float trip, and I was really just getting drunk and sleeping in a car.
Exactly. Hanging on the river for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's easy to take the things for granted, but yeah, Utah's a crazy active state. That ain't like Colorado. Like anytime I ever go visit Colorado, I've never actually spent any time in Utah, but you go and just everybody's outside. Everybody's outside. Everybody has a dog. You go somewhere, there's Subarus everywhere. Is that where you guys Subaru?
Yeah.
I fucking love Subarus, dude. They're just everywhere. It's just such a different lifestyle, which we don't really have that same active community here, which is unfortunate, but we got a lot of cool things going for us here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about this the other day. Like, here in St. Louis, if it's a nice day out, you're like, hey, let's go to a patio and have a beer.
Yeah.
That seems to be like what it is for most people, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like I still do that too, but like I also still want to go like mountain bike and stuff. So in Utah, it was like, hey, let's go mountain bike and then have a beer on the mountain.
Yeah, let's do them together.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness, mountain biking. I tried mountain biking.
Yeah?
I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, my friend.
No?
Dude, have you been out to Castle Rock?
No.
Or Castlewood.
Castlewood, yeah.
I always fuck it up. Castlewood. Dude, I was out there with my friend. We were on the zombie trail, and we were coming back to the car. We weren't actually too far from the car. And I don't know what the hell I hit, but I like flipped over the handlebars, and like an idiot, I kind of put my arm out to stop me. And I could feel what I did. I think I kind of partially tore my labrum because I tore this one. I actually had to have surgery, so I know what that kind of felt like. I was like, oh, I fucked something up here, and I just, to your point, like with yours, I just kind of just rehabbed it on my own, and it's cool now. But after that last time, which I mean, I had already been a few times before then, I'm just like, this confirms it, like. It's just not worth it. Because at the time I was still fighting MMA. And I'm just like, man, now I have to fucking deal with this. It's going to affect what I'm doing. I'm like, what is the purpose of this? I'd much rather just walk on the trail. I'll go trail running.
Oh, no, man. Like,
but you get going down those trails
oh,
real
yeah.
fast,
I'm all about the adrenaline, though. Like, honestly, I'll go hiking with my wife and stuff. But I really don't like hiking, honestly. Because I'm just like, this is boring. Like, I like the adrenaline side of things. And, I mean, it's nice to get outside and see cool views. But the whole time mountain biking, like, I hate doing cardio. And the whole time going up, every single time, doesn't matter how good a shape I was in, like, into the season, whatever, I was like, this is the worst sport ever. I hate my life. And then I get to the top and I start going down. I'm like, I love this so much.
Going down's pretty fun.
Yeah, and you get that flow state, you know, and you're literally, like, have some jams going on in your head, and you're just, like, trying to cruise down. And we'd have, like, our Strava app going, so I'm trying to get, like, the fastest speed down. Like, so I was big, like, downhill kind of guy. And I got lucky in Park City. They have some of the places have lift service. So if you want to be real lazy, you can literally put your bike on the lift, go up, and then just send it down and just do laps all day.
That's not bad.
Dude, yeah, there's Deer Valley out there. They have, I guess there was probably like 4 or 5 trails that this organization called Gravity Logic's made. And they'll like buff these trails out. So they're probably about as wide as this table. So, 4 or 5 feet wide. And so, super wide trails that you can go down. They actually have, like, huge berms, like wood berms, like jumps, 20-foot gap jumps.
That's cool.
And, like, drops and just crazy, crazy stuff. So that stuff is super fun. It's like you're on a roller coaster going down. So, but, just kind of what you said, though, it's like, dude, you crash on a mountain bike, you're going sometimes 20, 30 miles an hour. Like, you can wreck yourself pretty good.
I've had some pretty gnarly wipeouts. I was happy I wore my helmet.
Yeah, I slowly acquired stuff. Like when I first started doing downhill, I just had my regular helmet, and then I got a full face, so it's like a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah.
And then I got elbow pads and then knee pads, and just like slowly started accumulating gear.
Yeah, you're all the way in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was doing downhill so much out there. It's like, when you fall, it's tough.
I watched those videos of people mountain biking going down some pretty wicked terrain. And my palms get a little sweaty. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you're going to kill yourself. Dude, it's like you're just falling straight down. Mm-hmm. You were doing stuff like that?
I don't know what video you saw, but I was going down some pretty gnarly stuff. We'd go down, like, what they consider, like, blacks,
What is that?
So, like, have you ever been skiing?
Yeah, well, no, I've never been skiing, but I know, like, blacks are, like, the hardest.
Yeah. So it's, like, green, blue, black. It's kind of, so, like, we've gone down there, like, quote-unquote black paths before and everything. Okay. We used to go down to Moab all the time and bike down there, which is pretty gnarly. Yeah,
dude, that's my point. It's like people are just jumping from like boulder to boulder.
Yeah.
Do you like get on like wheelies and like hop down to shit?
No, I've never done that.
You don't do that?
No. No, I'd rather just jump off something or whatever.
That shit scares the hell out of me. But you go so fast. It's like the faster you go, the better it is.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're
people
like flying over
every single year in Deer Valley. There was like always like one person that died.
Really?
Like, and it was usually like a tourist or something that had a rental bike that was on a trail they shouldn't be, and they just like went off and like hit a tree. They're going like 30 miles an hour,
Yeah.
So they tried to that's why they tried to make the biggest jumps like at the beginning. So there's this one that was called Tsunami that was like the biggest trail all the way down. And to even get on it, you had to like clear like 3 20-foot gap jumps. So it's like, if you can't do that, don't go down this.
Yeah.
And there's still people you see that are like walking around it, and you're like, what are you doing, man? There's worse stuff down there.
Totally overestimating their own capabilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you like clip in when you ride?
Yeah, I like clips. I mean, it depends on what you like, which is kind of funny because like usually most downhillers like don't like clips because you want to be able to bail quickly. But I don't know. I started doing clips, and I just feel like I had more control in the air, like up with my bike and everything.
You're like one with the bike at that point.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. You can still unclip super quick. You just have to kick your heel out. So it kind of becomes second nature. You fall enough like I did,
Dang.
Just like.
Shit.
Yeah, I miss that for sure. And there's biking out here, but it's not all the same, obviously, and I'll still do it. But I think I'm going to try to go out this year again because we used to do a trip once a year out in Moab in southern Utah, which is amazing town.
Moab is so awesome.
Yeah.
We went this last summer.
Yeah, did you guys go to like Arches and all that too? Yeah,
Yeah.
Canyonlands. And
I didn't get to hit Canyonlands. I want to go back this year and go do Canyonlands.
so there's a right between Canyonlands and Arches. If you go and you're looking for a place to camp, let me know because there's tons of land out there that's just free.
Okay.
In Utah, it's like 70% is like land management.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Free land. And right before Canyonlands, there's like the start of the canyons that become Canyonlands. And that whole area is open. So we would camp out there all the time for free, like on the edge of the cliffs and stuff, and just like
dope.
wake up and you're just in the desert. Like nobody's around you as far as you can see.
Dude, there's nothing like that desert. I've
No.
never been to that part of the country until this past year. I took the whole family on a road trip to the
Yeah.
Grand Canyon. And as you're driving through that desert, you're like, holy shit, there's just all of this open land.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see people in trailers just like on these patches of dirt just living out there. I'm just like, people live like this.
Dude, yeah.
There are people out here. This
Yeah.
is the world.
We did this bike trail, I guess this was like 4 years ago. We went and camped there on Friday night. We were like, again, like 30 minutes outside of Moab, middle of nowhere on this like cliff, whatever. And there's a road, and then you had to take a dirt road and go down for like 5 miles to get there. And we did our bike trail, coming back, and my buddy's car broke down. And we're like, no service. We're on the regular road still, luckily.
Okay.
But it's like, there's not a lot of people go on that road. So we're sitting there, we're like, dude, we're 8 miles away from our campsite still. Me and my buddy's quads were cramping up, so we're like, we can't bike over there. So we're pulling the bike down to get my one friend to try to go bike and, get my keys to my car or whatever. And then all of a sudden this bus comes pulling up, like a school bus. And my buddy's like waving it down, and it stops and opened it up, and it's just two like hippie guys that are living out of this school bus.
What?
And they're like, what's up, brothers? And we're like, can you take us to our car? We're like, yeah, man. Hop on in. We're like, this is like a savior, man. So we all hopped into these guys, and they were like, we're looking for a place to camp. Like, pull up next to us. So they just parked their bus like next to us on this campsite. Not even a campsite. It was middle of nowhere. And we just hung out with those guys all night. It was just like unbelievable. If they were just driving down that road, we would have been screwed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to run into.
No.
They had all the drugs with them, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
They're out there on spirit quests for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I really love the desert. That part of the country is so cool. Moab was such a cool town. We're gonna go. We're planning to go there this year, and then also Sedona. Have you been to Sedona?
Yeah. I lived in Phoenix for a little bit with the Sox. So.
Okay, yeah. So that's right. You said you were in Phoenix for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool out there.
Yeah.
Phoenix is like a big bowl, right? And that like it's surrounded by mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets super hot like inside of the mountains. But then we kind of go outside the mountains is completely different.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you get up to Flagstaff is like, what, hour and a half, 2 hours away or something?
Mm-hmm.
It's north of Phoenix, and you can go skiing up there.
Yeah.
I never been up there, but been in between and heard about it a lot. I mean, Salt Lake's kind of similar where it's surrounded by mountains, and that's why they have such a pollution problem because it can't move anywhere, all the pollution. You have a city right there that's sitting in a bowl. And then same thing in the summer, man, it gets hot as shit in Salt Lake.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
And
you put that in air quotes, podcast
to your podcast, and you were talking about you went to you were like in Europe for a summer over the lockdown, or when was that?
I was in Europe.
Was it over the lockdown or after the lockdown?
No, it wasn't during the lockdown. It was
before?
before all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then you're like going to China.
Yeah.
Oh, how was that?
China was interesting.
Yeah.
I did that. That was I guess that was 4 years ago because that
okay.
That was the year it was supposed to be the cycle before the Olympics there. So we actually went and had a World Cup event there, and it was at one of the sites where they had some of the actual Olympic Games.
Yeah.
It's 4 hours north of Beijing. So even though like it says it's like a Beijing Olympics, right? They're outside of it a little bit. So it was an area they called like Secret Garden or whatever, and it was like almost Mongolia, middle of nowhere, man.
Really?
And they just like got these. I think they had New Zealand investors that like basically just built these ski resorts, and they tried to make them kind of look like copper and stuff. So they looked super Americanized, which was really weird.
Yeah.
And then there was a bunch of people that had never skied before that were there trying to go down this hill, all these mountains. They even tried to make it look more like Aspen by planting trees, like because this is elevated desert, so it was just like bush and stuff everywhere. It was cold, but there was just bush. So you'd ski down, it looked like a tree farm where there was just lines of trees
Really?
as you go down, because they just like planted like millions of trees, all just for the Olympics too.
There's a lot of places like that in China, right? Where they'll try to make it look like a different part of the world, and they do a pretty good job.
I mean, that's the only place I've been, but
Really?
they did a good job there for sure.
I think I heard there's like a place, I think it was in China, it was like American City or something like that, and it was like just, let me look it up to make sure I'm not telling
Yeah, China's a weird place, man. I mean, it was cool to go there, and everybody met was awesome, and I don't know, probably not going to go back to Beijing.
Probably not.
A little dirty.
That's what I hear. I have a friend who he fought for I think maybe it was ONE FC. It was a fighting organization in China, and he was like, yeah, like you kind of go to the city, and it's like there's, I mean, it's like a city, but then you start going to the countryside, and it's just dirt, poor,
Oh yeah,
really dirty in a lot of places.
yeah. That's kind of where we were. It was like I said, 4 hours from Beijing, and when you're driving, it's weird, man. There's like nothing. You're just fields and stuff, and all of a sudden there's like 4 skyscrapers that are all look exactly the same.
Really?
And I'm assuming those are people that are living there, because there's got to be some kind of like factory nearby or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Does all that traveling make it hard to do your job when you're trying to work with these athletes and make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do?
I mean, I wouldn't say it makes it harder, obviously, than having a gym at my disposal rate. But the fact that I'm there is to make sure that the athletes are doing what they need to do in ways. So we try to travel with certain things. So we had these bags where you could actually load up with water, and that would be like our weight. So they could get up to like 65 pounds, like water bags. Use blood flow restriction just a way to increase intensity. Whatever you could find weight wise as well. But a lot of places, especially when you're in small towns in Europe or China or whatever, like they don't even have a gym.
Yeah, you just have to get creative. Water's probably good too, right? Because it forces you to stabilize, because it's such a...
Yeah, it depends on how you use the bag. I can't remember the name of the mine. It's like aqua something. Anyways, basically you just fill it up, and if I wanted to do stabilizing, I would fill half of it and then inflate the rest with air, so then it's going to move a lot more and be like a slosh bag.
Yeah.
But if I fill it like all the way up to the brim, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And it's not as much of like a slosh. It's more just like weight. So if I'm trying to do some cleans or like kettlebell swings, up, hit the mic there, kettlebell swings or deadlifts or whatever we're trying to do, it's going to stay pretty stable.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's creative. This is what I'm thinking of. So it says China's fake cities are eerie replicas of Paris, London, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Huh.
Yeah, and they just have these cities that they built that look like these places, but they're fucking empty.
Dude, yeah, China's weird.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
There's just so much money.
Yeah, that's just a whole video on it. But how crazy is that, dude?
Well, they basically...
They just got money over there, bro.
Oh, yeah. So people are like, why are the Olympics there? Because there's all this, obviously, issues with China and everything. And
that's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, the Olympic Committee is going to go wherever gives them the most money. So there's definitely better places to have the Olympics at. But China, I don't know how much money that they probably paid them under the table, but they're paying them to have the Olympics there. And I know China, and they've been pretty open about this, they wanted to kind of grow the ski industry in China. So, 5 years ago, like, nobody skied in China. Like, it wasn't a thing. And then they built, I want to say it was like 200 ski resorts in the last 4 years. And they were going to use the Olympics as like a springboard to like showing people what you can do with skiing, right? And because there's this like middle class that's kind of like growing in China. And, those are the type of people you're going to have at like ski communities or whatever. So they built all these. And one of them was the one we were at, that Secret Garden. And then, the plan was, basically, they're going to try to win all these medals in the Olympics and then try to use that to try to build this whole ski industry. So, I mean, obviously, it's still early on. I don't know how that's going necessarily, but they definitely bought a lot of medals at the Olympics. There's a handful of athletes that won medals that were from other countries that they paid the athletes to ski for them or whatever.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. I don't keep up with the Olympics.
It's crazy.
Oh, my goodness. I do know that they built all of that infrastructure, and then it's just like sitting there now, right?
Yeah, well, they used a lot of the infrastructure from the summer games there at Beijing. What was that, 08 or something like that?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so like the bird's nest, if you remember that like crazy looking
big
dome.
Ass round dome, yeah.
Yeah, so they reused that.
Did they?
So they still reuse some stuff, which is maybe one way that they like were able to kind of be like, yeah, you guys should come back here or something. But
yeah.
I know, I think it was Kazakhstan was supposed to have a pretty good chance for some of the Olympics. And talking to a lot of the skiers and coaches, they're like, that would be an amazing place for the Olympics because, you know, apparently like the city is kind of like Salt Lake where you can get to all the mountains in like 20 minutes. And it'd be really easy to have everything in one place versus like China was Beijing, and then you had to take this high-speed train to go like the area I was talking about, which is driving 4 hours away. Or when I was in Pyeongchang for the Olympics, we had to take the buses, which is like an hour drive from the like coastal village, which is where they had hockey and curling and all that stuff, to the mountain village. It's like they're completely separate. But apparently in Kazakhstan you could have it like all in one, but Kazakhstan doesn't have the money to pay the IOC, so
that'd be way more convenient.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a business. It's all business.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. I mean, they're just making money, and my dad doesn't think the Olympics are going to last. He's like watching it this year with China and all the political stuff and now the COVID stuff, and he's just like, I just don't see how it's going to keep up. He's like, I feel like it's going to collapse.
I don't see how it couldn't. I mean, it just seems so weird how there are certain countries that clearly do whatever they want to do. Like, I mean, did you watch that documentary Icarus?
Yep.
So there's a whole state funded, you know, doping by the Russians, and I'm sure they're still doing that. And then you have China, which nothing's off the table with China. I mean, are you familiar with CRISPR and like genetic,
DNA?
Yeah, DNA altering and shit like that. Of course, they're doing that probably. Like they're experiment. So it's like
they were doing that with not CRISPR, but Yao Ming they got the two like of the tallest people in China and basically like bred Yao Ming.
Oh, really? Is that how they did that?
That's legitimately. I
don't see why. I mean, that's the start, right?
Yeah.
You start picking people in your population and you breed them. Nothing's off the fucking table.
No.
So it's like,
it's weird how like sport has like such a almost like political agenda as well, right? Like, why do you need to win all these medals to show your prowess of your country is like better, like politically than this other country? It really doesn't mean anything, right? But the fact that we put so much money into it is crazy.
Yeah. Like, well, to your dad's point though, will it last? It doesn't seem to have the same popularity that it once did.
I don't know. This last games, and like I'm into it, and I was watching like my athletes' events that I used to work with, but I think it was just harder to watch this time because they tried to stream everything, and like I was trying to find specific events, and I still like had issues finding stuff. Versus like I remember when we were younger, it was just like on NBC all the time.
Yeah, it was just.
You just turn it on, and you're just like, oh, it's on TV. Like I forget about it. So I think this Olympics they just streamed it all, and there was nothing on TV, and I mean people probably just didn't pay attention to it because they're not going to go look for it, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's like, what streaming service do you have?
Yeah, maybe they need to because I think they did everything on Peacock, and it was like, well, I don't want to pay for that. So
who has Peacock?
Yeah, I have it for The Office, but that's it.
Okay, I had it. I think I used the free trial, and then I canceled it.
There you go.
Yeah, dude.
I probably need to. Too many streaming services.
There's a lot of them. I've been debating whether I was going to cancel Netflix. It's like that OG that you just kind of have.
Yeah.
But it just keeps getting more and more expensive. I don't really watch it, but my kids watch it. So I'm just like, fuck.
Just get like Disney Plus for your kids.
I have Disney Plus too, bro. We got Hulu and Disney Plus, which I was like, maybe I just cancel this.
Yeah.
Cancel the Netflix. Kids have it too easy anyway, bro. Think about this. I'm trying to figure out ways I can introduce disappointment into my kids' life. Because it's too easy, man. Everything's just so easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people said that about us too, right? Like our grandparents and parents, it was easier for us too. So
I know, right? But look where we are. Yeah. Shit's gotten too easy. We gotta make it harder. Sometimes I wish it was harder on me. Should have been harder.
There you go.
You know, maybe I shouldn't have had
the comfort crisis.
Mini McDonald's cheeseburgers or something. I was a fat kid growing up.
Yeah. As you got donut sponsors.
I know. Shout out to the homies, Strange Donuts. You know,
I love them.
I'm always conflicted because I don't actually eat donuts all the time. I love bad food, but I don't. It's definitely like not the normal for me. Mm-hmm. But I advertise it way more than I probably eat it, and I feel like most people eat it more than they should.
Probably.
And I'm just aiding into the debauchery.
I don't know if you're aiding though, because those people are going to eat that anyway, or eat something anyway,
true,
right? So whether it's Strange Donuts or I don't know, going and eating some cake for breakfast or something like that.
Dude, I was working at this office, and I was talking to this dude. I was like, "Hey, if you could eat cake every morning for breakfast, would you?" And he thought about it first. He's like, "No." He's like, "Maybe it's just like a little piece of cake." He's like, "I would." I'm like, "Bro, you just told me you would eat cake every morning for breakfast."
Yeah.
Do you not know how crazy that sounds? That is terrible for you. You can't fucking eat cake for breakfast.
Yeah, and then people like I think it's weird when I'm eating like steak and eggs for breakfast. And they're like, "Oh, you had like steak for breakfast?" Like I literally come into work and I'll have like sliced up steak or whatever and some eggs, and people like talk about that being weird. But like if I came with a donut, it'd be like completely normal.
Totally normal.
Yeah,
totally normal. Like you can't eat eggs because whatever reason you're worried about your cholesterol or some shit.
Yeah.
Or red meat's bad for you. It's like I'm like, what are you guys talking about? No, you're eating refined carbohydrates all day, breads and pastas and all this shit, donuts, and you're drinking sugars, and you're worried about fats and protein.
There's almost too much information out there, and too many people saying, too much stuff about nutrition, but about anything. And I have like clients that come up to me and, they're asking about, organic this or, GMO that. I'm like, dude, just like stop eating donuts. Like, why are you worried about and my brother-in-law, I always talk about him he's kind of that perfect example of the guy that listens to Rogan and buys all the On It supplements and everything and does everything that's good for you, but then he's eating like shit and not working out. And you're like, okay, well, you can just do these two simple things and you can get rid of all the other crap and you'll be in a way better position. Like that stuff's great, but that's that 1% that you need, right?
Yeah.
That extra you need. If you're not doing the basic stuff right, like I don't give a shit if it's non-GMO or organic or whatever it is. Like, you got to get those basic foundations down first. So
yeah,
I think that's a big thing people miss.
Yeah, people forget that Rogan is in super good shape and he's on TRT and he's trying to get like that 1%, like that little bit extra. He's like he's already at this good spot and now he's just trying to get more.
Yeah.
Most people just need to get to that good spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he's again, like you said, he's trying to be at his like most, physical shape that he can possibly be. Like most Americans, they just need to be a little healthier.
Yeah.
And that just a little bit, and that would help out a ton, right?
Yeah.
So with overall medical bills and issues and everything.
Do you do a lot of coaching on nutrition and stuff like that as well? Like you kind of like take like the holistic approach when you're explaining health and wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do, like at our site, we have what we call like Nutrition 101. So we just run like a course like once a month where our people can come in and just kind of, I try to recommend everybody to do it when they first sign up. So they'll come in and just actually go through the course there. And it's pretty simple stuff. It's just trying to, again, get those basics down. And then for my athletes, especially the young athletes, basically every day when they come in, I'll have some kind of information on the board and we'll just talk about it, whether that's mindset, sleep, hydration, nutrition, whatever. But I try to bring up something outside of training that's going to help them perform better or just live better. The hard thing about the kids, because we have so many young kids, most of the time it's the parents that need to hear it. And I've realized anytime I've tried to have events where I try to educate parents, the parents that show up are the parents that are already doing it correctly. And the parents that don't show up don't care.
Yeah.
So they're not. So it's like, how do you reach those parents? That's the hard thing.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, if they're already doing it correctly, it's like this event isn't really for you.
Yeah, but they want to learn more, right?
Right.
They want to know that 1% or whatever we were just talking about, or what supplements this little Timmy needs to take or whatever. And it's like, dude, just don't give them Pop-Tarts. I don't know.
Yeah. Just don't do that. Yeah. I remember growing up eating all of the wrong shit, trying to get big and just not having the knowledge. Mm-hmm. You can't put empty calories into your body and expect to do something great with those.
Yeah. I remember growing up and just not eating vegetables. Like my parents like don't eat vegetables. I feel like that was a thing back then too. And now when I go over to my mom's house, she's so proud to have like vegetables out for me. She's like, "Oh, I made vegetables for us all." And it's like the amount of broccoli that I would eat, and there's just Velveeta on it. It's just like, all right, thanks, Mom.
Dude, my mom growing up, she would buy strawberries, and I just want to eat the strawberries, but then she would cut them up and she would douse them in sugar.
Sugar, yeah.
Same
like thing.
Strawberries.
So good.
I'm like, Mom, can we just please just leave me some?
Yeah.
Like it tastes good without the sugar.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Maybe that's just like a generation thing.
I don't know. Yeah, my mom grew up down in Cape Girardeau, and like my whole family down there, they cook great food, right? Mm-hmm. But not healthy for you.
No, probably not. Probably a lot of white bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. My family's from Potosi, Missouri.
Okay.
So it's just backwoods country living, and it's a lot of that same shit.
Good
dude.
food.
Yeah. Great. Fuck, dude. I was a fat kid because of it.
Yeah, not going to make you feel good, but you know.
No, it's okay though.
It's all right.
So whenever somebody comes to you, I mean, obviously there's like an assessment process and all of that, but like in general, are there like kind of some general things that you would like recommend to people as they're trying to like get healthier or start moving, or just some things that they could be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just getting steps in. So that's the first thing I try to track is like, you know, how often are you getting up and walking? We have so many people that just sit at their desk all day. That, you know, if you can track your steps and ideally getting like 10,000 steps in a day, most people aren't doing that. So I feel like that's a super basic thing that you can do, right?
Yeah.
It's not really going to take up that much time, and you're not going out and having to like set time out to go work out. I think that's something just to start. And then a lot of times, especially when we're doing like our evals, you know, just some basic movements to help open up the hips and the T-spine, because again, we're sitting all day. And even kids nowadays, they're sitting all day, or they're playing video games, or they're on their phones. So the stuff that I used to only really do with adults, I'm now having to do with like all these younger kids too, because they're all in this hunched over position, especially hockey players who I work with, because they're already in that position.
Yeah.
But, you know, showing them things to open up their hips, open up their hip flexors, internal hip rotation. I'm sure you do a ton of like kind of shin box 90-90 position stuffs with your legs, especially with jiu-jitsu. And that type of stuff I do a lot with them, because nobody's ever goes into that position. And then just doing T-spine rotation, T-spine opening, that kind of stuff. So those are like, honestly, day one, like I want to make sure to show you that stuff. I want to make sure to talk about, you know, walking and actually getting up. And I think that kind of stuff, just those two on its own, can do wonders for most people that are coming from, you know, a pretty sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a real low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, for sure.
Just walk.
Yeah, like I said, let's get those basics in, right?
Yeah, if you can do it outside, even better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
Or like, you know, I had one of the guys I'm doing personal training with, he started doing walks every day with his wife, and I was like, you know, now this is like time with your wife, right? It's like you're getting your steps in, but it's also like quality time where you're not on your phone, you're not in front of a computer or a TV.
Yeah.
You're outside with your family. And then now he's at the point where he just throws a weighted vest on and does it, you know, with his wife and his kid as well. And, you know, they're out with a walk with him, and he's actually like working out.
Yeah.
So it's great.
And he's teaching the kids how to move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you do much in like as far as like barefoot movements, or
Oh,
do
yeah.
you do a lot of training barefoot?
Oh yeah, I'm barefoot all the time.
Are you?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
The only times I'm not, if I'm doing like jumping stuff, that kind of can just bother my feet because like the impact, right? But ideally, I'm barefoot all the time, and that kind of started because when I played rugby, I got turf toe really bad like 3 times in one season, and since I'm an idiot, I just, you know, tape that up and keep running.
Yeah, of course. Tape it up and keep going.
Keep running. So I started running on the outside of my foot, and I kind of realized this a few years later. I didn't have the strength to drive through my big toe anymore. And because of that, I started getting some mid-foot pain and just some weakness in my foot. And they did an MRI on it, and they're like, yeah, you're just having like degenerative changes, so the start of arthritis, basically, because I'm walking differently.
Yeah.
So that was a big eye-opener of what I needed to do. This was when I was in Utah. So I started doing a lot more like, you know, what we call foot yoga, just, you know, driving the toes down, trying to separate the toes. I'll wear those toe spacers at night. And then, you know, I have like some wide toe box shoes, but honestly, they're all pretty ugly.
They are. They are. Yeah.
And
I have the Vivo Barefoots.
Yeah.
In that big pile of shoes. Like
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
see, but those are like the only ones I found that look somewhat okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm lucky enough, like where I work, that I can just have my shoes off.
That's the best way.
So I just have normal shoes like throughout the day, but when I'm at home and I'm at work, I'm just barefoot, you know, 90% of the time. If I'm downstairs in the clinic with Mercy, I try to have my shoes on just because, you know, they're all looking around. And
you mean it's not professional to walk around barefoot?
It's really funny. Yeah, since I work for EXOS technically, and then Mercy is our client, right? So I run the performance side of things upstairs in our gym. Downstairs is Mercy, PT, AT. So we're technically not like associated, but we all work together, correct?
Right,
so
that makes sense.
we're kind of like ran by two different things. So since they work for Mercy, they're all obviously obligated to wear masks still and everything. And I'm just the guy that's like on my computer barefoot with no mask on. And they've had patients like ask, and they're like, they just are like, yeah, well, he works for somebody else. You know, he has different rules. So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to wear a mask. This is stupid. I'm not even close to you.
Yeah, all this ridiculousness.
Yeah, it's
EXOS,
theater.
you guys are in, I think EXOS, there's a facility down on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just partnered with them and maybe the last few years built that out.
They've been with On It for a while. I don't know when the facility got built. Actually, I think at least I know the supplement partnership with EXOS and On It ended. So I don't know if they're just changing stuff or what's going on. But that a couple months ago, I reached out to On It because we used to have a 20% off. So then it's like $80 for protein instead of $90.
Oh wow!
I'm just kidding.
I wonder if that changed because obviously like On It was sold to Unilever.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think it's probably been a couple years now. Because I know like so basically, if you care, but I think Aubrey Marcus, I think he stepped down as CEO, put in place a new CEO, and then within maybe like a year or so, I can't think of the guy's name, but he was the COO. When he took over, I think he maybe ushered that deal where they sold to Unilever. So it's like a Unilever company now. I think they're still their management team, but I mean that could be a difference.
Yeah,
I don't know either, but
outside my pay grade.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
I just tried to get supplements, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this doesn't work anymore." I'm like, "Oh, damn it."
Yeah. On It, they make some good shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I have their maces and their
I saw those.
Their clubs. I really love their clubs.
Yeah, we have. That was one thing when we started there. They gave us tons of maces, like too many maces for me to use.
Yeah.
So,
dude.
Yeah, those are like black ones. We have like little ones too. I love using that stuff, especially with the kids for warm ups. I do a lot of hip rotation.
Ones?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
I do a lot of hip rotation stuff with it, and then we have some Indian clubs too from On It, just to get some like shoulder work in, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And then those big ones, we have a few of those as well.
Yeah.
I love using those for like single leg RDLs and just to teach, like, because you can put the weight on the one side, that's the leg that's down on the ground, and then when you're leading back, when you're teaching somebody, it really teaches them to kind of drive through that hip and getting some weight back there, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a good input for them. Yeah. Most of them are in my garage. I just keep those two out. But yeah, I mean, they're just really good tools.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. They're really cool tools. You don't see a lot of people working with those, whether it's the Indian Club or the Mace or even like Bulgarian bags.
Oh yeah.
Those things are super cool for your shoulders and your grip strength. There's just so many unique tools out there to kind of do different shit with.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like sometimes, like I guarantee there's people out there that they'll only train with this. Yeah. Vice versa, there's people that will only do powerlifting or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't need to do one or the other. Like we can utilize all this stuff to what the goal is of that workout or for this entire phase, right?
Yeah.
So I think having that ability is a big thing in this industry.
Well, that's how fitness gets stale.
Yeah.
People are always like, I set this goal, and then I hit this goal, and then now what? It's like, well, you just keep training, and then that's where all this other things can come into play. I mean, you don't have to be just like a kettlebell guy or just a power lifter or just an Olympic weightlifter. There's purpose for all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on CrossFit?
I think that I'm glad that it basically brought weightlifting into the mainstream and has brought us all tons of gyms to use that have bumpers now, which as a weightlifter is amazing to me, because when I was even in college, like nobody had that.
That's true.
Or there was like one platform maybe, right? And now you can go to like boxes or just regular gyms, aren't even CrossFit gyms, and you have, like our gym, we have 4 racks and we have bumpers in all the racks, and it looks like a college weight room. Like that ability is amazing. I think CrossFit, as far as like competition goes and everything, like those people are insanely athletic. I think a lot of people look at them and they think that they train like strictly like by doing the WODs, right? But if you look at like the elite CrossFitters, like 90% of them were elite level weightlifters that then learned how to do like everything else. Because they're having to throw up like Frazier, right? Like he was on the U.S. like weightlifting team. Like,
he's already a savage.
Yeah, so it's like he's already thrown up insane weight, so he's got that part underneath him. You have to be able to have that to do anything else in the CrossFit world. So I think sometimes people think that they're only doing those WODs for the training. It's like they're probably doing a lot more weightlifting than you think, and not as much of like the circuits until they get closer to what those events are. I think it's changed a ton in the last 10 years now, and now when you go into gyms, it's not as much of everybody's there to compete for whatever that next event is. It's a lot more people are just there to work out, which is great. So I think just like anything, as long as you have a good coach who's not going to put you in terrible situations.
Yeah.
And like if it's your first time coming in and you're a 50-year-old mom, I don't want you doing, snatches on the minute or something like that. Like as long as you have that ability as a coach to adjust, like then it should be fine, right?
Yeah.
But just like anything, if you have bad coaching, it's going to be problematic. So I don't necessarily have like an issue with CrossFit or anything specifically. But
you make a good point. That is a very positive change that they brought to the entire industry.
Oh yeah,
dude, bumpers and you see racks in places that you never would before. Yeah, they definitely changed the game.
And I think they changed a lot of. I guess, perspective on female athletes too, right? Because now it's like you see a lot more like strong female athletes, and that's like way more of like a positive thing than when we were in high school. A lot of girls like just wanted to be skinny, right? Now there's like girls that are that age that like want to be jacked.
That's true.
That's awesome.
Dude, Tia Claire Toomey is
oh my God,
fucking savage.
Yeah.
Dude.
There's girls that are seeing her and want to be her and are training.
I wish
like
I could lift as much as she does.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a monster. Dude, I had a thought, and I was going to ask. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you, because you say you work with a lot of hockey players.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an avid ice skater. However, I have gone a couple times. And that shit hurts my feet more than anything. That stuff cannot be good for your ankles and hips and knees, can it? Being on the ice like that. Like, the way you have to it almost bows your legs because of the way you have to, like, push off the ice, right?
You get a lot of the external rotation in the hips. So that's why a lot of guys are super strong in their glutes and or big asses or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because you're pushing your feet out and pushing back into that position that you would if you were literally trying to just engage your glutes.
Yeah.
So they get a lot of that, a lot of hip tightness and hip injuries in hockey. That's like the main overuse injury, groin and hip stuff.
But nothing with your ankles and knees, really?
Nothing really with the ankles and knees. I see a lot of ankle weakness just because of they're in boots for so long. Same thing I saw when I was with skiing. But even with like the boots with skis, they're way more pliable than you think. So like you're still getting more strength in there than it's not like a cast, right? Like it's still moving a bit. You still have to have that stability in there.
Yeah.
But you were also probably in rental skates.
I was.
That are not fitted for you.
That's true. And it completely smashed my foot. I'm like, my foot is not made for this.
No, if you're in boots for hockey or for skating, like they can actually go in and like mold those to your feet. And if you have like your big toe or like a bunion or something, they'll actually like bust those out, so like it actually will fit in your foot a lot better. So it's a lot more comfortable. But it's expensive to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
that would make sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, I don't know how fucking people do this.
No, same with rental ski boots. Like, man, they suck. But if you get like, I've had friends that they'll rent skis. They'll go skiing once a year. They went and bought their own boots, and they'll have their boots for 15 years, and they're fitted to them, and they just drive out to wherever, and they'll only rent the skis, but they'll have their boots.
That's a good move.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good move.
Oh, yeah.
Shoes are too narrow as it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you take a shoe that's not meant for. I have a very wide foot. It was painful. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do ice skating ever again.
Well, there's probably skates that are like meant to be like extra wide. I mean, I don't know where they are, but
yeah, but those weren't it, bro. Those were not it.
I went and bought some real cheap skates from Play It Again because it's like $20 and I work at an ice rink, so I'm like, might as well have some to go out there and open skate sometime.
It's a good move.
Yeah, but I brought him into the guy to get sharpened, and I was like, what do you think? He's like, you're gonna die. He's like, these are terrible.
Dude, so what's a day like for you? Are you like an early riser, or walk me through a day?
So right now we have a 7-month-old. So I'm an early riser because of her.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm getting up not like super early. I'm getting up like at 6 or 6:30 with her, or with my wife's getting up with her, but she's crying, so we're both up, right? Getting stuff ready. Usually just have breakfast. I usually do like a little bit of not like journaling, but I'll kind of just go over the day's goals, right? And I kind of just try to write something down that I'm grateful for every day. It usually takes 5 minutes, but that's something that's helped me out just to like have a plan for the day, not like overanalyze everything, right? Start the day, I'll usually go in depending on if I have class in the morning. Sometimes classes start at 6:30 or 7:30. I'll run a class, usually get my workout in after, and then we'll have TPH, which is the hockey academy. Okay. They'll come in after that. Since they go to school there, they're training with us in the middle of the day, so at like 9 and 10 o'clock. And usually from like noon till 3, it's kind of when I'll get like admin work done, stuff like that. Since I'm the GM there, like I have to do a lot more of data tracking than I ever thought I'd have to. And like reach out to people and, try to sell stuff, now that I'm that guy.
You're a businessman.
Yeah, businessman. Just some meathead that they gave this opportunity to. And then, I have our bridge class, which is like late stage rehab. So I work with them at 3:30, and that's like a lot more customized training because different injuries. And then we'll have classes in the evening, which right now our other coaches are running. So I'll try to get some more admin stuff done and then head home and spend time with the family. So I was lucky enough, like I took this GM position when it opened up, I guess it was about a year ago now. And it was kind of like, my boss was like, we can hire somebody else on for business ops and you can stay on as head coach. Or if you want to do the GM stuff, like you'll still coach a little bit. And your hours will be way more normal, which I've never had as a strength coach. So I actually took, that GM position, which, wasn't something I necessarily thought I would want to do, but I'm liking it right now. And it's given me more availability to be at home. And since I do have those admin hours, like I can do that stuff from home if I need to. So I get to go home and help my wife out with stuff and, see my kid and actually play with her.
Yeah. It's like probably like you didn't maybe foresee all that coming into your future, but it sounds like an opportunity that leads to so many other cool things.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, it's like, what do you want to do in your future? And it's like, oh, I want to be the head strength coach of, whatever team it might be. And it's like, looking back, I remember my buddy Eric, who left the Blues as their head strength coach a couple years ago. My wife was like, oh, you should apply for that job. I'm like, I do not want that job. I was like, you know when games are at 7 p.m.? She's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Like, I would be gone every single night. All the time. I'd be getting home at 1 in the morning.
Oh, that's a hell of a life.
Yeah, no thanks. I didn't obviously do hockey, but I did it in baseball, and can't imagine having a family doing that.
Yeah, just going all the time.
Yeah.
When do you train yourself?
Usually in the mornings after class, or if that's busy for whatever reason in the middle of the day. So it shifts every day.
Yeah, just whenever you can.
Yeah, I mean, because I just have meetings and stuff, and I'm always trying to reach out to different groups and different people and, get people in our space and everything. So it's like whenever I can, ideally – like 7:30 in the morning after my morning class. But if I have something going on then, or like another client in or something, then usually like at noon. Honestly, noon's more fun because we have like 3 PTs downstairs, and that's usually when they'll lift. So like yesterday there was like 5 of us that all worked together, and we were all lifting together.
Oh, nice.
And most of them were just doing my program, which was awesome. So we're all doing the same thing anyway, and kind of hyping each other up, which is cool.
That's legit.
Yeah.
It's
good crew.
It's good to find that time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure it's easy to get bogged down with everything that you got going on, and the easiest person to neglect is probably yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for sure. And especially when we talked about having injuries and stuff. I mean, I think as a strength coach, that's like the hardest thing. It's like this hurts, and I know what I need to do, what I would tell my athletes to do. But I'm just going to go ahead and grind through this and make the pain worse.
Do as I say, bro.
Yeah.
Not as I do.
I've changed that in the last couple of years. Now that I've gotten older and things hurt more. So.
Yeah. Have you found yourself transitioning more into the mentor place? I mean, I'm sure earlier in your career, I mean, you probably had some mentors, right? You find yourself being more of that mentor now?
Yeah, I would say so. Honestly, just with the younger strength coaches I work with, and, when I was with the ski team, I was lucky enough to help out with the internship program that really got me started. And I mean, that was awesome because we'd have 4 or 5 interns there, and, I would help plan stuff with them, help out with the internship, which was great. Now we have an internship over the summer with EXOS. We had 2 interns in last summer, which was awesome. So I got to actually like teach them. And then with our current just staff, we just brought on a new coach who works out with Lindenwood. He works with their basketball teams. So he's on, and then our other guy that went from part-time to full-time recently. They're both in their early 20s, so they're kind of getting started and everything. So we try to do like continuing education at least once a month, and I have like one person in charge. So for instance, like a couple months ago, I was in charge of it. So we came in, and I've done the USA weightlifting course like 4 or 5 times, like been part of it, like with interns and stuff. So I actually took them through that course, like what I remember from that course and how to break down lifts and how to teach lifts. If there's issues, this is what we're going to do. And then also allowing them to educate like us as well and like present information to us, I think is also important as a mentor, like, because that's something they're going to have to do as well in the future, right? So, the next month we have Dave, who was a boxer beforehand. He's going to take us through some boxing stuff in a couple weeks, which I'm excited about since I've never had any like formal, like actual like boxing training. So he's going to kind of show us just what his background is and everything, which would be cool. And then we actually just had one of our coaches, Ryan Hurston, who just left for the Rockies. So he's working with them right now. I think he's up in Spokane, Washington.
Spokane.
Yeah. So, he was the first coach that got hired when I was there. And then me and him worked closely together. And obviously, like, he's younger in the industry. So when he had questions about stuff, I was always there to try to help him out as much as possible. And I knew a couple people with the Rockies, so I tried to pump up his tires a bit. I mean, that's what coaches did to me, So yeah. I think as a young coach, I got a lot of help. And if there's good coaches reaching out, like, I'm happy to point them in the right direction or even just have a conversation with them about my experiences.
Yeah. That's got to be an interesting transition to kind of be the just the more seasoned trainer now.
Old?
Yeah, like well, dude, I feel like that now. Like, I mean, I'm teaching. I train. I have a couple fighters that I work with, and I train and I teach now, and like jujitsu and fighting and different things. And then, you know, I walk into the gym and like I'm the fucking old guy around here now. It's like, fuck, man. I've been in this St. Charles MMA, for example. I started training there in 2009, so I mean 13 years ago. And you see all these new fresh guys come up, and it's just like some of them don't even know who I am because like I don't train for fighting anymore, so I'm not in there like with practicing with them like some of the other guys. So it's just weird to be in that place to where you were once the young athlete doing the thing or whatever it is, or you know, the young trainer, and now it's, you know, now you're seasoned.
Yeah. I think the cool part is like for instance with Ryan, like, you know, me and him were good friends and everything, and anytime he had questions I was always like trying to help him out. And I feel like you don't even, if it's a good relationship, you don't even realize that you're like the mentor until like they move on to something else or do something and they're like, thank you for it. Like he's leaving, he's like, man, you helped me out so much. And I was like, did I?
Like, I was just being
a good friend, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I had experiences that you didn't, and so I'm going to try to help you out as much as possible. Yeah. So that was always really cool.
Are you like an avid reader, or you listen to like podcasts or books on, like audio books or anything?
A little bit of everything, honestly.
How
probably
do you
more
like to learn is maybe a better way to phrase that.
Probably more podcast, and then like trying to like actually, I like to read research articles as well. So if I like hear about something, I'll try to actually like go and do the actual research myself, or read the research, not do it. And then I'll read every once in a while, but I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm an avid reader. I just finished the Comfort Crisis, which was awesome.
What's that about?
Basically how our lives are too comfortable. Like you were talking about, these kids have it too easy.
Too soft.
Yeah. And this guy, what is his name? Michael Esther, something like that. He wrote it, and definitely a book I'd recommend. It's pretty cool. It kind of has the background of him like going through this elk hunt, which like he did not have experience for, and like people were taking him on this and just getting him out of his comfort zone. And it just talks all about things like cold showers and like stuff that your body wants to say no to, and like trying to actually get used to that, because we're used to what, like 72 degrees, like perfect humidity, and like your food's just in your refrigerator, and it's like very comfortable lifestyle, which isn't natural for any animal. So it's like having the ability to be uncomfortable and like be okay with it. It's just a pretty cool book. It goes into it a lot. He had some like addiction issues and stuff, so that kind of helped him get off a lot of that, which is really cool.
The Comfort Crisis?
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I can dig that. There's just so many different ways to learn or expand your knowledge. It doesn't really make any sense to like let yourself be ignorant on something that you wanna like know about. So I'm always interested in how other people like to learn.
Yeah, I think it was just from, I don't know, when I was getting my master's, like having to do so much research in general. That like when I hear something, I'm always like, is that real? Is there research on that? Because like when I see something, I'm not gonna like just believe it, right?
Right.
Like I'm a very skeptical person, so I'm gonna
real.
go, and I mean, there's definitely times where like I'm like, there's no way that works, and it was, you know, I was wrong or whatever. Or I'll try to do some of the research on myself before I like bring that to other people. Like I was talking about blood flow restriction earlier, like BFR. I don't know if you've heard much about that.
Like doing like the Normatec boots and shit.
No,
like that, no, I don't.
Okay,
tell me about it.
Blood flow restriction. Basically, what you're doing is you're not fully occluding, but you're restricting blood flow back out of a muscle. So, for instance, we have these straps. So I work with Smart Tools, is the name of the company, or Smart Cuffs, and it'll go right at the top of the arm and then at the top of the leg, depending on if you're doing leg day, arm day, whatever. It'll actually measure what your total occlusion pressure is. So let's say for my arms, it has to be, I don't know, 200, was it millimeters of mercury, I guess, to fully occlude. So I wouldn't have any blood flow back, right?
Okay.
What you don't want, because you have no blood flow in your arm.
Right.
So let's say I'm going to do, for your arms, they suggest like 30 to 50%. So let's say I'm going to do 50% because I'm getting after it today. Basically, what you're going to do is 30 reps of something super light, and then 15 reps of something super light for 3. And what it's doing is, since you're not getting as much oxygen back in, you're actually fatiguing your type 1 muscle fibers sooner. So then your type 1 muscle fibers can't work because they're not having any oxygen. So your type 2 fibers have to take over, which is usually what you're doing when you're lifting something heavy or doing something powerful, right? So since it's all type 2 fibers, your brain's thinking that you are lifting something heavy or doing something powerful, right? So you're going to release the same hormone, and they've shown research. There's a bunch of research out there showing this is true, you're releasing the same hormone dump as if you were lifting something heavy. So you could literally do 30 body weight squats and then like 3 sets of 15 goblet squats with like 10 pounds, which is what I did the other day. And you're going to get the same testosterone and growth hormone dump as if you were lifting like 80% of your max.
Okay, so just so I understand
Which is crazy.
That sounds funny.
It sounds fake, right?
So that way I understand this, right? So we're talking type 1 and type 2, right? So the muscle fibers for the listeners. So like type 1 is like your fast twitch muscles. Is that right?
No, type 2 is your fast twitch muscles. Type 1 is if I'm going to go out and run like long distance, which is why you need oxygen for
Okay,
it.
so type 1 is slow twitch.
Yeah.
Type 2 is your fast twitch. Okay. And what you're saying is that by restricting the blood flow, you're basically creating a response to where you're like getting more of a benefit for your type 2 muscles that you wouldn't otherwise get with a lesser weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less your body's using the type 2 fibers at a lower weight than it would normally use it, right?
Okay.
They're normally not going to be recruited at that point.
Got it.
So now they're recruited. So your body, the only time they're recruited is when you are lifting heavy, and your body responds with hormone dump to fix everything because you just lifted heavy.
Got it.
So because of that, your body's going to dump the same hormone level.
So it's like lifting heavy without lifting
It
heavy.
is. So it's mainly utilized for rehab, right? So when I have ACL people that come in or whatever injury, they can't lift weights yet, or maybe they can't lift heavy weights yet. How do we reduce atrophy? So like muscle loss. We're going to put on these straps, basically, these BFR straps, and we're going to do body weight or even lightweight stuff, and they're going to get the same stimulus as they would if they were lifting heavy.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we utilize that a lot with rehab people. And then more recently, Kabuki Strength, I can't remember his name now. Anyways, strength conditioning company, weightlifting company. Chris Duffin, he's a power lifter, nuts dude. Anyways, he started talking about utilizing it for rehab. So he became the first person to deadlift 1,000 pounds and squat 1,000 pounds in the same day. So he lifts like an extreme amount of weight, right?
Yes.
So even on his light days, he's still probably deadlifting 700 pounds or something, right?
Whoa.
So that's a lot of force on the body and the joints and the central nervous system. So he can only do that like once every 10 days, right? Mm-hmm. So the heavier, stronger you get, the less you're going to have to be able to actually lift at those capacities. So he uses BFR a lot on like his leg days that are like quote unquote recovery or whatever, because you're not going to get the breakdown of muscle fibers because you're not actually moving the mechanical load. So you're not going to be as sore from it, but you're still going to get the same hormone dump.
Really?
So I've been utilizing those on like my recovery days and just doing like body weight stuff, which has been awesome.
So that will increase your strength, but not necessarily your size.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, but usually like whenever you tear the muscle fiber, when it's healing, does that usually cause a growth in size as well?
Yeah,
as
so
opposed to just strength.
The tear and then the red blood cell rupturing from like increased blood flow of like that pump feeling, that's just triggers for your brain to be like, we need to fix this. Let's send hormones there. So those hormones are being sent there without that happening. So it'll still get like a little bigger as well, and just general strength. So it does a little bit of both for sure. The only not downside, but it's again goes back to let's use this when we need to. Let's not only use this.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have, if I'm not doing any kind of mechanical load, my tendons aren't going to get like stronger. Because your tendons only get stronger from actual putting load on it, right? Your bones only get stronger from putting load on it. So if I'm sitting there and I'm just pumping up the actual muscle mass, let's say it's my bicep, for instance, and I'm not strengthening my tendons, and then I go try to curl something super heavy, like I might have the strength to do that, but I'm probably going to pop a tendon or something. So you need to utilize both of them.
Right.
But in a rehab setting, that's the only thing we do have.
Right.
So we're going to utilize it as much as we can until we get to the point where we can start utilizing actual weights.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just thinking from sports like fighting, where it helps to be really strong at not a very large weight.
Yeah,
that might be something that fighters would utilize.
Yeah,
but to your point, man, if the strength of your muscle is outpacing the strength of your tendons, then you're just going to create more injury.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't see that happening unless you were like only doing that for a while,
like going crazy on it.
Yeah, and that's like a year into it or something. But yeah, you have to come out and try them sometime because man, it's kind of wild because you're used to like squatting a good amount of weight or doing goblet squats or whatever. And like I said, I was doing 10 pounds. And since your type 1 fibers are fatiguing, they're not getting the oxygen that they normally get, right? So again, one of the responses is your brain's like, I need oxygen. So you're like out of breath.
Yeah.
and you're doing like 15 squats at 10 pounds.
That's gotta play like tricks on your mind,
dude. Yeah, it's nuts.
Dude. Whoa, dude,
Yeah.
science is so fucking.
Yeah,
cool,
but that was something, going back to how this whole started. That was something that like got brought up, and this guy brought that to the ski team when I was there, and I'm like old school weightlifter, powerlifter. I'm like, well, this is bullshit. Like what this guy's fucking talking about. And there wasn't a lot of research out yet, so we kind of had to do our own research there. And my boss actually, she kind of same thing, like grew up weightlifting, and then she tore her Achilles, and she was researching on herself with the BFR stuff, and she did great, and like all of her numbers went up, and she's like, as much as I want to hate this, like it's doing pretty good for me. And then more and more research has been coming out, and now more and more physicians know about it, so it's being recommended more for like late stage rehab, early stage rehab, and more doctors are like less concerned about blood clots because there hasn't been anything like that post surgery from it. So people are usually using it like a week or two out of surgery now.
Oh wow!
And they can just literally sit on a table and just do like quad contractions.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Whenever I had to rehab my shoulder, I did a lot of especially in the beginning, we did quite a few isometric things. But this sounds way better than doing isometric, because I think like the idea, right? Like you're not really going through the range of motions, but you're like creating tension in muscles, and you can still get some benefit from that. But this sounds way better. Yeah,
and I mean they're also showing that the research, since it is a hormone stimulus, even though I'm technically only like fatiguing, like say if it's on my arm, I'm only fatiguing like my bicep, tricep, forearm muscles. I'm still going to get that like growth and stimulus like in my shoulder muscle because it's in that same area. So I'm still getting that hormone release in that area.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else like cool and exciting happening right now in the world of rehab? Like that?
I mean, that's definitely...
You're like, what do you want to know, guy? Like, there's so much we can talk about.
I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest things I'd say.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I mean, for me, one of the coolest things is seeing, a lot more physicians and a lot more coaches being okay with, like, waiting to bring people back from injury a little bit and having more of a build-up versus, like, again, when we were in high school or even 5 years ago, like, people usually get cleared from an ACL surgery from a doctor, and that was in quotations if you're listening. They'll get cleared at like 5 or 6 months because they can, I don't know, like move and get off a toilet and live normal life. But if they're an athlete, like you're not at all ready to get back to your sport. And research shows that like until you're at least at 9 months, like the chance for re-injury is pretty high. And we have kids that are coming back because insurance basically stops paying for it when you're back to a normal person. So they're thinking that, oh, I'm done with PT, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Not at all the case. Like you need to either, obviously that's what we do, see us or see whoever, somebody to get your strength numbers up, and then have that person like work with your coach as well to like plan on, okay, like I just had a conversation with the coach about 2 athletes going back to Scott Gallagher, soccer team there. And it's like, okay, let's have her come back 1 day on, take 1 day off, see how the knee feels. Come back 1 day on, 1 day off. Do that for a week.
Yeah. No
contact. Next week, contact. Next week, we're doing 2 days on. Build it up that way, the same way you would in a gym, and not just be like, you're cleared, go to the field, re-tear your ACL.
Yeah, and that used to try to be the norm.
That absolutely was the norm. It was like a 20 or 25% re-injury rate, which is insane.
Yeah, that's
not a red flag to like something's wrong.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting hurt.
Yeah.
At that rate.
For sure.
Dude.
So it's like let's do as much as we can to not have that happen. And you still have people and parents that like want to push it as quick as possible, and they're like, well, this person needs to come back. This 15-year-old needs to come back for this event. And you're like, no, they don't.
They're going to the Olympics tomorrow, Bret.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I would say that that's kind of shifted, which has been awesome to see.
Yeah. There's been a lot of just positive steps forward in the space, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit because I don't want to miss it. You're doing all this. I was gonna say shit. I cuss way too much, dude.
That's okay. Me too. I'm a strength coach.
You're doing all this. I mean, you have so much, of your time accounted for. But you're also. I'm looking at your hat here. You have the Clean Eats business.
Yeah, buddy.
Tell me about that a little bit.
So yeah, crazy.
I don't know. How do you even have time?
I don't know. I'm
goddamn monster.
Sure. I'm opening up a meal prep restaurant in St. Louis here. So Clean Eats is a franchise. The owners are from Edwardsville. They actually moved out to Wilmington, North Carolina, opened up. They're just bodybuilders, and they were trainers as well. And they opened up a restaurant out there mainly for their like clients that like wanted a place to have like food ready that would be like enough food for them and have like carbs and stuff in there, still be good. And it did really well. So they ended up opening up about 10 of them, and they decided to franchise. Going backwards, when I was with the White Sox, my catcher for 3 years was Casey Schroeder. He went to college at Wilmington, so he got to know that crew there when they started franchising. He decided with some of his signing bonus money that he wanted to do something with it, and was smart with his money, unlike some baseball guys, and was like thinking about, I probably won't make the majors. Like, chances are I'm not going to make the majors. What can I do with this? So he decided to open up a Clean Eats in Columbus, Ohio. He now has 3, and he had reached out to me about the possibility of kind of helping out and opening up one in St. Louis. So me and one of my close friends who is a tax lawyer and way smarter than me as for the business side of things, we had always talked about going in on something. He's a big power lifter too. So it kind of just made sense. Like, we had always talked about doing something, and I had looked at different options for businesses. And I think when it comes down to it, I just didn't want to be like locked into a 9-to-5 my whole life. Mm-hmm. Like I've told my wife, I'm totally fine with where I'm at, where we're at, with how much money we make. And it's not like, we have like a fine lifestyle, and I just want more free time, like, at some point. So that's not right now, but you have to build that, right?
Yeah.
So I just want more freedom to be able to do things again with my family. And that's kind of my ultimate, like, my why, my goal is like be able to spend time with my family and do things that we enjoy, travel, go down to Moab, like you were saying, go to the lake, whatever. So I see this as like a way to kind of blend those two things of now I'm having a business, I'm helping people still, which is obviously something that I kind of has always been a passion for me. Like, everything I've done strength and conditioning wise has always been like to be able to help people reach their goals. So it makes sense for me, like, personality wise, it makes sense for me business wise. So yeah, we started going down that path. I think it was like a year ago we started talking about this and became a real thing. And yeah, we signed the franchise disclosure and everything, and it's all hands on deck since then. So we got a space in South County off Tesson 270, and we're opening up in May. So it's kind of a cool concept where it's like we have meal prep, so 6 meals every week. And then you also, when you come in, it's like a regular restaurant too. So you can get like bowls, wraps, partnered with First Form. So it's all First Form products there. We have like high protein snacks, smoothies, that kind of stuff. And then basically whatever meals we don't sell, we put in our grab and go freezers, and then they're just marked down a little bit since they're frozen. So
nice.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
It's right in the arena of what you're already doing as far as, helping people in fitness and health and wellness and all of that.
Yeah, exactly. When we were looking for a GM, it was kind of funny. I was like, my first thought is to find somebody with restaurant experience. And anybody we were interviewing, like, yeah, they had restaurant experience, but like they don't know anything about nutrition or like how to, talk to people and help people and stuff. So I ended up recruiting some people that were more of personal training and nutrition side of things. And that just is going to, it makes more sense for me. Like I can teach them how to, do the restaurant side of things. Cause I'm learning it myself too.
Yeah. And
like, I think, our want to like help people and have them come in, figure out what their goals are and try to like point them in the right directions, whether that's with us or something else. I think that makes more sense on trying to build that culture of that business versus like running it like a McDonald's or something.
Right.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. Having somebody there who can actually educate people as they're coming in and answer questions and point them in the right direction. That's going to go way further than somebody who just has all the like the nuts and bolts workings of a restaurant, if you will.
Yeah. So, I'm going to be there as well. My wife's quitting her job. This is next week's her last week at Boeing.
Oh man.
So we're like all in on this thing. So I'm still keeping my job at Mercy. So I'll still be there, and then on the weekends I'm going to be doing stuff at Clean Eats, helping build meals, give out meals, slinging bison burgers.
That's going to be dope.
Yeah.
You guys going to deliver meals?
Not right now. So we eventually want to, and the plan was to, but everything kind of, prices of everything went up in this last year. Like I said, we signed this thing a year ago, and literally our budget was blown quick.
Dude, it's so crazy how expensive everything just gotten. It's like, because I told you we're looking at buying another house, and even we completely remodeled this place. We're gonna put like a privacy fence in the back, and then things were going up, and we're like, all right, maybe we'll just wait a little bit. Here we are, like a year later, like on the fence, and it's more expensive than it was, and like houses are more expensive now. It's just like, man, do we wait? Are the things going to go back down? Like, I don't know. I think we're just at a new normal. I don't know if it's going to go back to it might go back maybe some, but I don't know if it's going to go back to where we were thinking it was. You know what I mean? Because, for example, gas at one point was $1 something a gallon, and now it's way, way up there. You know, before it was like 10 cents a gallon back in the day, and eventually things just get more expensive and they don't go back. So I'm like, man, are things going to return back to normal, or is just this the new normal and we just need to figure it out?
I mean, I would hope things go back down a little bit. I think everything's overinflated a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah, I mean, all of our equipment and everything went up at least 25%.
Yeah.
On everything. So, and then obviously we always run into issues. So we had flooring issues and everything too. Extra money.
Yeah.
But
life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I guess so.
Figure it out, bro.
Trying to. So. Yeah,
well, that's cool, man. So May, that's right around the corner. That'd be fucking
awesome.
We'll
probably have a soft opening. I'm guessing right now, second week of May, and then you have friends and family out, and then we'll have it all open. So beginning of May, we're trying to do like all of our training and stuff for everybody. So
cool.
But yeah, I already went up to Columbus and did training with my buddy Casey's stores. So I got to see his stores run, which was really cool. Helped them make. I think that week they did like 2,500 meals at each place, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of meals, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot of meals.
Well, dude, it's going to be a whole new learning experience. You're going to be crazy busy. I'm glad I got you while I did, because pretty soon you're not going to have any time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I appreciate you taking the time today, man.
It was awesome.
Is there anything else going on that you wanted to tell the people about?
Not really. I think we kind of went over all my happenings right now.
Dope. Well, Bret, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you once again. All right, man. All right, everybody. Till next time.